Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I always do that same intro. I'm too worried about the beginning of this.
Well, what are you supposed to say?
Holler at your boy. I need some slogan.
Nah, I got nothing.
I couldn't think of anything either. Anyways, I shouldn't say that. I'm trying not to cuss. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another podcast. I've lost track of these. I think this is eight. There's one that I never transferred over from Motivatedresults. Channel link below.
Oh, I thought you meant those other two.
No. There's only one I didn't transfer, which was the metaphysics one. That seemed like I liked the concept of it, but the problem is like I wasn't able to properly discuss what I was trying to convey because I had drank diet soda, and my mind tends to just melt with diet soda, which is hilarious because we just ate In-N-Out. I ate a diet drink, but this coffee and the sugar is straight up putting me back on the right path.
Give a shout out to where we got our coffee from.
Colados, shout out to Colados. You want to hook a dude up with some coffee once a week when we do these podcasts?
Yeah, you should. I'm gonna talk to that. What's that dude's name? Do we know that dude's name?
I don't know that dude's name, but
he knows
my
your name.
Yeah, because I give him my card and he's like, "Thank you,
Yeah.
like dude number 4," and I'm like, "You're welcome, dude. I see you probably once a week, but I don't know your name."
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to these freaking podcasts so I can give you this number. Trying to get this legitimate. You know what I need to do? I need to do what Ari does. I think he just starts talking, and then he like does the intro, and I think he talks, and then he just cuts off the intro and just starts randomly. We just need to start randomly. Stop like doing an intro. Stop talking about like other shenanigans that don't really matter. That way, because it just feels like weird, and I'm like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Joe Nathan's LifeGeneralist channel podcast number 1,345. Because it just feels too like I'm trying to rehearse stuff, and I don't do it like that. So we've done 5, 6, 7. This will be number 8, not including the companion podcast for 50 Shades of Grey. If you haven't seen that, it's quite funny on the awkward sex parts and mediocre funny on the other rest. Because I feel like you and I get so uncomfortable because watching like sex stuff together at the same room, and then it's just like, we got to make jokes.
It was fine. I was trying to watch the movie because when I watch movies, I want to watch them, like no matter how shitty they are. And then sometimes on that, it was just so ridiculous. Like when he finally fucking goes balls deep. Oh, he goes balls deep. One stroke. Deep inside.
Yeah, he just goes, and he's very rough with her. And, And I think how she turned out from like very innocent, but all of a sudden, the whole thing was just weird, and I've never had interactions with that like that.
The best part was like the last like 20 minutes or so, because I actually got into the movie. I'm like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I want to end it, and I was like, what's going to happen?
Towards the end, you're like, when's the next movie coming out?
Yeah, I'm like, when's this next shit coming out? On Wikipedia, it's like 2020. I'm like, bitch. I need the second part.
Oh, we forgot our slogan, dude. Vascular fist. Remember that? That was on podcast number 1.
Did I say that?
Yeah, because we were like vascular fists. Remember?
Oh,
that's before I was like fat and I had vascularity in my arms.
All right.
So this
how is that? How do we get that in the slogan?
I can't remember. We'll have to watch it. It's only 30. Apparently, our first podcast was only 30 minutes.
Jonathan's podcast, full of vascular fists.
Apparently. So these are the podcasts we've done. I'm gonna put the playlist on the bottom, guys, so you guys can go back. What I usually suggest people is use, I listen to podcasts on my commute or when I can at work or whatever. Just download this in an audio format, throw it on your podcast phone files or your podcast if you're in 2001 and don't have a phone, and then listen to them at work on your commute or whatever. That's why I put the link down below, which I don't know how legal it is, where you can download this in an audio format and then put it in your whatever phone device, whatever, and listen to it. Just remember, once again, I'm going to say this in every podcast, like and post a comment below with topics or things that you like or things you like to change, so we know that you're watching this, that therefore you can give us feedback, and we know that you like this and put out more podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We can easily put out more than one a week, but it's just at this point, it's like, we just got to have topics. But anyways, back to the topics. First podcast was, and this was the topic, puts on a pedestal, Ronda dominance in the UFC, and then vascular fist was apparently topic number 1.
What?
You'll have to rewatch these yourself.
I don't remember that.
Podcast number 2 was the shit YouTube fitness community
Okay, I remember
video.
that one.
Remember where I
that one.
explained my video because I wanted to clarify what I meant by that.
I do remember that one.
And if you want an Easter egg, that's the exact shirt I'm wearing right now. Podcast number 3 was our road trip podcast where we discussed movies, video games, and just random stuff.
On the road?
Yeah, which I feel wasn't the best podcast, to be honest with you, only because I was driving and then I was trying to explain the story of like Mega Man X and why it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Not great. Then we did the 50 Shades of Grey. And then podcast number 4 was our Black Friday stories. I suggest going to listen to that one.
I don't remember doing that.
I'll tell you about the time. You'll learn about the time that I got a TV and nearly stole it from an old woman, maybe, possibly.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I remember the podcast now.
Yeah. Black Friday stories, number 4. Number 5 is UFC 196 recap and shit talking in MMA.
Who was that?
196, was that Aldo versus McGregor?
Might have been.
I'm going to have to Google that right now. Hold on. UFC 196. Let's find out what my phone says here. 196 apparently was McGregor versus Diaz. That's probably why it was such a big deal that we recapped it, because we were like, this shit went down. Which, by the way, the UFC just released that on YouTube. So if you want to see that, that's a really good fight. So that's number 5. Number 6 is apparently a solo podcast I did with myself alone. Yeah, I did. Yeah, because so I wanted to have a real talk podcast where I talked about YouTube, the fitness community, and then the future of Motivated Results, and what eventually will be the end goal and end project at some point.
Did you do that one thing where you're like, "Is this the end?" And then you did the clickbait thing?
No, dude, I can't for the life of me, like, put aside my morals for this clickbait shit. Like,
you should have done that.
DeFranco does it all the time, and he puts like sexy pics and stuff that somewhat kind of like have to do with the thing. But I'm just like, dude. So no, the topic was just real talk, motivated results. That was it. And then podcast number 7 was last week's, which was channel updates. Apparently, I can't spell because I wrote updates like it's diabetes, and Game of Thrones talk. So I'll edit that and change up the things. So if you haven't watched it yet, you'll never see my typo. So that's number 7. I feel like we've done more.
I don't know. I feel that's about right.
Really? So that's what we're at, dude. We'll have to. I still like the idea of doing one a week. That's doable. I just need to find a way to get this out for more people that actually enjoy podcasts, because I think the people that are listening to it, either people that maybe know us, I don't know, or people that. I think one of my coworkers, knows about this. I can't imagine. Dude, I'm going to be so embarrassed if one day I walk back there where my coworker is and I can hear myself on a podcast that she's playing at work. That'd be weird. I'm like, can you turn that off while I'm in here?
No, you should be like, no, go take that to all the floors of this place I work. Spread that around. Go take it to Starbucks.
So here we go.
Let them listen to that.
That's what we got so far. So today's topic,
I'll tell them when my 8th graders graduate, I'll be like, look me up.
You're like, here's all my stuff. You need to make those cards, dude. You were on vacation the whole time, and you didn't make our cards that I think should be a potential funny video for this channel. How dare you? You were on vacation for like 3 months. Every freaking day I saw you were like, dude, I'll do it tomorrow. And you still don't have the freaking cards.
Man, there's a lot of things I didn't do.
Yeah, no, I know. Like
commit to anything, be it a person or any other thing in life, just in general.
How dare you? How dare you? This would be an awesome, funny skit. And I'm really curious as to whether or not people get mad at those. So you need to do it.
I don't think.
But this is how we need to prove it. You need to do it.
I don't think people get mad. I think, if girls did it to other girls, they get mad. But
no, I think it'd be the opposite. I think. No. Oh, maybe you're right. You might be right. This is why we need to do it. And in fact, maybe you should make the cards. You make a male version, make a female version, then we'll give it to females to give to other females and record the differences in reaction. This will be a non-scripted, real video on YouTube, unlike these fake prank people.
Did I just show you that video of?
Yeah, that was a fake video.
That was fake. If it's not.
If it's not, I'm going to punch that dude in the face.
That dude just moved all mankind. Just men in general. Mankind.
Yeah, that dude's a piece of shit.
Back like 10 spades.
I cussed first time in 10 minutes. Damn it. Anyways, so, all right, topic of today. Let's get into this. So, you and I have a torrid history of vehicles, and our I have a deep love for vehicles. Case in point, why I have a car that I'm not in love with right now. So let's talk about that. I taught you how to drive manual. That's right. I said it.
Mm-hmm.
I said it, even though you quit on it. So let's talk about our history with cars. So do you want to go into...
Tell them what we're going to eventually talk about, or else it's not going to sound like it's important.
So, okay, this is how we're going to go. We're going to talk about our history with cars, first cars, how we got our first cars, what cars we've had. And then we'll talk about how Fast and the Furious is really the story of our lives and how I need to find out who I need to sue about that movie. Especially
Okay,
Fast
and
and the
for the
Furious.
thumbnail, you must cut out a picture of my head and your head and put it on Vin Diesel and Paul Walker's body in the car.
Dude, that would be pretty good. Okay, I got to find it.
You need to do that.
I got to find it. Sorry, remind me to take a picture right now after this podcast is over in the face that you want me to crop out. So you guys can't see that. So we'll take a picture of that, and I'll crop your head out, and I'll crop my head out, and then we'll put the thing. So let's start with because your history is a little smaller than mine. So what's your history with vehicles? Your first car, and also give me the year of the car, the kind of car it was, the condition of the car, and then what year it was when you got the car.
Okay. First car was 92 Honda Accord.
And if we have pictures, I'll put them up somewhere. I think Ruben has to find them if he has them.
I don't think I have pictures of it. Yeah, it was 92 Honda Accord.
That's the black one,
That was
right?
a black.
That's
No, it was primered black.
It was primer black. I taught you how to drive manual in that car.
I was doing okay.
Why'd you guys go with the manual if you didn't?
My parents are just cheap, man.
I guess because you bought it from a friend, right? That's right.
Yeah.
So
You would take payments. So they're like, oh, fuck, that must be good.
what year was this?
2007?
He took the subs out of that thing before he sold it to you, right?
Yeah. No, he didn't have the subs, or he didn't have a radio in there at all.
That's right.
Weight
Because he took it out.
You wanted that weight reduction.
Oh, jeez. So I remember I taught you because you were like, you didn't know how to drive manual. So I took you in the middle of like this warehouse area, and I was like, let's learn how to drive manual. And so you got it pretty good in the beginning. You got stressed out like everybody does in the beginning with like the shifting and the clutch timing.
Yeah, it was a little hard at first, and then I think I got it, and then it was working fine. But the problem was my parents didn't want to fix the problem with the car, which was when you stalled it out, it wouldn't start back up.
Oh, jeez.
So then it got in my head that if I stall it out enough, it won't start because it wouldn't start. And then we started going onto the road where I stalled it out once.
That's right.
And then I started up, and it barely started up. And then it was in my head, and then I just couldn't fucking do it anymore.
I wish that...
Because it was subconsciously in my head.
I wish that I was vlogging back then, even though the footage would have been like potato. But I wish I was vlogging so that I could have filmed. Because when you get frustrated and you like get mad at shit because you can't do it, you get in this like... This is what you do. And I've tried really hard not to cuss, but we're 13 minutes in, so I'm going to intentionally cuss. You do this shit where you're like... He's like, fuck it. You did this to me in the car when you were mad because you couldn't do it. You're like, fuck it. Why am I even doing this right now? It's like, why is anybody doing manual? Why can't everybody just have auto? There's no reason to have manual. Auto is the way to go. Why is anybody even driving manual? It's so stupid.
I still stand by that. Why is anybody doing that?
So you got rid of that car afterwards, and then how long did you have? Like a year maybe?
I don't know. I think we got in the winter, and it was all cool. But then it didn't have AC.
Oh, you gotta have AC, dude.
So
we gotta get into not having AC and Biscuit.
A good story. So once again, we ran into another problem. So now not only did it stall out, if it stalled out, I couldn't even take it home because I'd be dead in the street. And I was like, well, fucking parents, fix it.
We were in high school, right?
I think we're in college.
Really? I thought we were in high school still. Maybe you're right.
Because I remember my dad picked me up at college.
Okay, so you guys sold that, and then you got what? You got the Ford.
Yes.
Kind of.
No, I had the Ford.
So
There was another beater car I had.
I don't remember another beater car.
It was a Supra. It was like 86 Supra.
That's right. But you guys got rid of that like shortly afterwards.
Yeah,
Because I remember talking to you, and like I was super into cars at that point, and I was like, dude, we're going to drop a Supra engine, and it's just 1,000 horsepower of like 1986 goodness. But yeah, it wasn't gonna happen. Your dad got rid of it because they didn't have problems right away. Like
it was it seemed like it was good. It ran really good. Like I drove that like around, and I
That's
was
right.
like beating the
I
shit out
remember
of
the
it.
Supra.
But the problem was it couldn't pass emissions.
Oh, that's right.
And apparently there was like carbon built up in the engine, and the only way to get rid of it, because we left that at my mechanic, and my mechanic was pretty good friends with him. So he was like, "Leave it here, I'll try to fix it." So I left it with him for like 3 months. He's
I
like,
call BS. I bet you if you would have gotten like a, anyways, enough.
and he was like, I couldn't fix it.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. You don't want Japanese cars.
I was like only $600 car. So
Yeah.
what the fuck you expect?
So you got that, and then you got rid of that, and then you got what, the Ford?
Yeah, and then I got the Ford. I remember how I got the Ford. My dad came home. He was like, "Hey, Mister." I was like, "What?" That's how I talked to him. He was like, "Mister's my nickname. If you're wondering
He's like,
what the
"What?"
hell is that?" He calls me Mister. I think he calls me Mister. If you're wondering why, there was a band in the '80s called Mister, and so
Mister.
I think that's why he got it. I can't confirm nor deny that. Nor has he ever told me.
You never asked him?
No.
That's
I
weird.
asked him one time, and he's like, "Because."
He's like, stop asking me that. Anyways.
Yeah, he was like, "Stop asking me that fat question. Get out of here."
I like how his roles have switched. Now you're cussing like a sailor, and I'm over here like.
That's how he
cuss.
talks. What do you want me to tell you?
I guess. All right, so you got the Ford, and say what Ford was it? Because you and I know it by the Ford, but what is it?
It was 92 Ford Explorer.
A
Oh yeah, so
92
he
Ford
came
Explorer.
home and he was like, "Hey, I found a car for you." I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" He's like, "It's a Ford Explorer." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "It's a Ford Explorer, Mister." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go pick it up tomorrow. I already talked to your mom about it." I was like, "Okay." And so I remember clearly. We went in our van to go pick it up, and it was down in the kind of shady area, but not the really shady area of town. And so we pulled up to it, and I'm like, "This is another beater car." And yeah, it wasn't. It was pretty much another beater car. All the windows didn't work,
Oh, jeez.
but it had AC.
Oh,
so
that's important.
I guess that was cool. And then all the switches and stuff to like turn the lights on, all the switches were off. Like all the like things you pull and stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't have those. It just had like the metal things. So to turn on the headlights, I had to pull like the metal thing out. The brakes were not good. I didn't have brake lights in it, so coming home was fun.
Dude, that car was.
And I didn't have. I think I only had turn signals, so that was cool.
But you guys ended up fixing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, we fixed it over time.
Yeah.
Because we had it like 6 years.
Yeah.
So it was a good car.
So
That's
then
my favorite car still.
the Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It was we bought a lot of stuff and transported a lot of stuff in that car, didn't we?
Oh man, I'll tell you a story for later.
Well, don't forget it.
No, I don't
All right.
remember it. 'Cause
So
it fits in with everything.
afterwards, now you have it. Now you moved on to what you have now, right?
Yeah, because then my dad was like, "Okay, your filthy lowlife aunt needs a vehicle. We're gonna sell her yours." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that shit seems fair." My beloved car. I called it Sarah, by the way.
You never told me that. You called it Sarah.
Yeah,
How come you never told me the nickname?
because Sarah. That one's Sarah.
Okay, it's freaking years later. Discovery is like uncovered the hidden secret now and shit.
Yeah, so that one was that one, and so, and then they're like, "Okay, we'll get you a new car." I'm like a brand new one, because you say new car before, and then you got me the beat up Ford. So they're like, "No, a new one." So yeah, I got a new one, and then I went to go get it, and it was a Dodge Caliber, 2010 Dodge Caliber.
Nice. Yeah, but I mean that's. I mean, for the most part, you've put a lot of miles on that car now.
I put a lot of miles.
So
on
I mean,
that.
it's been pretty dependable for you.
Yeah, I got it because family sedan kind of, but then also it looks professional enough.
Yeah.
People take me seriously. Like if I pull up into like a Ford Mustang, they're like, "This dude's just a joke."
So all right, so yeah, that's your history. So my history is a little bit longer. So my first car was and I don't know when I got it. It must have been in. So if I go back in high school years, it must have been in like 2003. That's probably about right.
Mm-hmm.
2003, I got a 1994 Nissan Sentra. And this was like hand me down from my parents. Hand me down with like 140 40,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
The car didn't have AC. It did have power windows and a semi-working radio. Because I remember I had to sometimes jiggle the volume knob for it to actually kind of work properly. No moonroof. It was like sunburnt paint. Like the paint was sunburnt. And I miss that car. Call that car Biscuit. And I'll tell you why Biscuit a little bit. So that's probably the longest history was that car. And there was a point where I guess we'll just go to the next car and then we'll talk about the histories. So that car Biscuit. Remember that because I'm going to reference it. If you don't know where the name Biscuit comes from, it's from that movie Biscuit. Watch it. It's decent if you like horses.
Some people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Some people don't get that reference.
Biscuit, the movie, the horse. Like
some people won't understand that.
There's a movie called Biscuit where he's like a racehorse.
Spider-Man. Phone's making noise.
My bad. I forgot. My bad, dog. My bad.
Spider-Man, the
Tobey
first Spider-Man,
Maguire.
the original Spider-Man, is
Dancing Spider-Man.
Yeah, there you go. He races a horse named Biscuit.
Yeah, and then
basically
Biscuit. So I named it after the Biscuit movie. Anyways, after that, I got really into cars and mostly the import scene, and so I wanted a 350Z at the time. This was like in 2005. Well, a 350Z was way out of my price range, and insurance rates for me at that time being like 18 would have been like astronomically high. And so at the time I was working at a market research company, aka doing surveys via phone. So I was that annoying guy who would call you asking you to do a survey. Okay. So I remember I busted maybe I should just set the car instead of telling the fucking story. Anyways, I'll tell you that. I already started the story, so I'll finish it. I busted my ass by working for like 2.5 months every day. Every day. No days off. Like Monday through Sunday. Start back on Monday through Sunday. Back over again for 2 months to save up enough cash to buy a 1990s 300ZX that was in like 2 states over, by the way, but it was in immaculate condition with like 70,000 miles, clean car, non-turbo 300ZX. After everything was said and done, I fell in love with 300ZXs. So like, screw 350Zs. They're dog shit. Back to my point. I had the 300ZX. I bought it. So I had the daily for the Sentra, the 90 Sentra. And by the way, this was like 2008 probably, right? Around there, give or take. Well, 2006, 2007, 2008. Somewhere around there. Dates are foggy. I had the 300ZX for about 2 years, and then I wanted to get a twin-turbo 300ZX. And after doing the research and calculating the money, it cost too much money to make it a proper 300ZX twin-turbo. So I sold that one locally, and then bought a 300ZX twin-turbo. Where the heck did I buy the white one from? Locally. I bought it locally. I bought it from a guy here, because I remember Vitaly looked at it. So originally, the non-turbo was a sweet cherry red, such a good looking car, perfect paint. Then I got the twin turbo, which is a pearl white, good looking car. I would have liked the super white better, but whatever. Pearl white, twin turbo. That car was my child, people. And then afterwards, I sold the 300ZX. I'll tell you that story later. And then I sold sadly, the Sentra was in an accident. I will admit that was my bad, mostly. Sentra got totaled. So after the Sentra, I bought I couldn't find another Sentra. I was really in love with that car. And quite frankly, I had it for so many years that like I knew how to work on it. Like I worked on my car. So
those are stories.
So many stories. Biscuit and 300ZX stories like left and right. But I sold, or I bought, I couldn't get another Sentra because I was so comfortable with it. Like, you helped me change an alternator multiple times.
Yeah, we did one before school. That's how efficient we
really
were at that.
Yeah, well, remember that one time? Wow, so many stories. Remember that one time where I thought my battery died, and I went to that shady place in the middle of nowhere to buy a used battery or reconstructed battery or whatever. Yeah. And then I found out it wasn't the battery, it was a starter. Mm-hmm. And so we literally drove the car like it was just dying on me. And we drove the car. No, we thought it was the alternator. And so we got it to this place by my parents' old house, and then I replaced the alternator there outside of a freaking house like the same day.
Yeah.
But then I found out it was a starter, and I literally replaced the starter like on the outside of a garage, somebody else's house. Like,
Yeah.
like I got really comfortable with that car. So that car, like I wanted another one, but I couldn't find one because by now it was like, it's got to be like 2010, maybe 2010ish.
8, 9,
2009,
around there,
somewhere around
somewhere.
there. So there was no way I'm going to be able to find another 94 Sentra in good condition that isn't tore to shreds, crappy paint, whatever. And so I ended up getting the next best thing, which was an Infiniti G20, and that was a 96 Infiniti G20. So it's like the Infinity's version of the Sentra. So it's a little bit more modern, a little bit better looking in a way, I suppose. And I got that for a decent price. And then I was rocking the G20 and the 300ZX at the same time, and then the freaking G20. I was driving in a Home Depot, and I was trying to park, and this truck apparently decided to just turn the car on, drop it in reverse, accelerate out, and he just didn't even see me. That was literally behind him. He accelerated out. I saw him, and the only thing that freaked me out was the fact that he had one of those ball towing hook things, and it was literally right next to me when I saw the reverse lights go on and it started moving. So I hit the gas, and I managed to move the car far enough where it hit the gas filling area and it ripped the rear bumper out. And when the guy gets out of the car, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, blah, blah, blah." And he's like,
"You're good, bro."
Well, he's just like, "Hey, he's like, I got a guy." He's like, "Let's not go through the insurance." And I'm like, No, we're going to go through the insurance because I don't trust you. He just came off shady. And so I literally, I kid you not, parked the car after I got his insurance info, removed the bumper in a Home Depot parking lot, threw it in the back, and then drove the car home.
Damn.
And so the insurance, because they hit the rear quarter panel where the gas fill is, they totaled it. The car was only worth like $2,000. They totaled it. And then they paid me out, which was a pain in the ass to find another car, by the way. You remember we looked at a couple which were scary. And I bought a forest green G20 that was the same color as my Sentra Biscuit. So I was rocking the G20. I was rocking the 300ZX twin turbo. And then it got to a point where life got complicated. I didn't have time to drive the Z. I wasn't driving it as much. Like, it was a weekend car, and I wasn't really going out with the car guys. And so that was a drama I'll talk about later. And so I was like, dude, I feel bad. The car just sits there like 90% of the time. I was driving it once every 3-4 months, which is ridiculous. So the battery was dying on me more than I was driving it. So I felt bad, but then I decided to just, sell the 300ZX, and it sold it, which surprised I sold it as quickly as I did, but I'm glad I did, because otherwise, if I didn't sell fast, it wasn't going to sell in a very long time. So I sold that one.
I wonder if that dude ever made it back.
That guy, he did. He made it back to Colorado, where he was from. And then remember the weekend after that, he called me and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in Flagstaff right now," because apparently he was taking trips with it. I was like,
"Really?"
Yes. He got it back to where he was from, which was like a state away.
Yeah, it was like Colorado or Utah or somewhere like that.
Which, by the way, how much balls do you have to come here, buy a modified car, which, by the way, you're 2 states away, buy a modified car with not like one mod, okay? Not like your shitty little Civics out there that you see with the rice cans making noise. Like, this car was like every bolt-on modification for the engine except rebuilding the engine in bigger turbos and exhaust. It had a freaking roll bar in the car. Like, if you hit the gas and turn the car sideways and you got enough momentum, your head is hitting the fucking bar. My head hit the bar one time.
Yeah, it is.
My head hit the bar when I was accelerating into an on-ramp, and there was like a little bump, and I jumped and I hit my big ass head hit the metal roll bar. But anyways, he drove it back home, and apparently like the weekend afterwards, he's like in Flagstaff taking trips with it. I was like, you got a lot of trust that like that car is that dependable.
Yeah, I wouldn't have trusted it that much.
So I sold the 300ZX, and I still miss it. But I sold the 300ZX, and then I was like, look, man, I got some good money for this 300ZX. Let me get a dependable, fun car. Because by this time, I was getting tired of working on the G20. Like, it had a lot of miles. The G20 had like 160 60,000 miles. Like
Yeah.
I bought it with, I don't know how many miles I bought the forest green one with, but I put a good amount of miles on it. So I was almost gonna hit 200,000. I'm like, I gotta get a dependable car, man. So I didn't want to change alternators. I didn't want to change blah 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 blah. So I sold the 300ZX. I sold the G20, and that's when I bought the Audi. Which, if you haven't seen the Audi, I guess I will put the vlog where I bought the car in here, and then I guess a project video, which I did the freaking front grill for it. I'll link that down below. Holler at your boy. You know what I'm saying? Got them vlogs on point.
Got all of them.
All of them. So, you have any stories you want to tell before we get into the Midnight Wangan?
No, my story was about it. Oh, we can. Okay, so you can tell me about that one time we were in high school in Biscuit.
I will tell about that. But you had a story about transporting stuff in the Ford.
No, it's one time about something else. It goes with the other stuff.
Okay, so let's start with Biscuit, which is the Sentra, the 1994 Sentra forest green, which was like, I think every man. Well,
can you hear me? Like when you were listening to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. I think every man, if you're a car guy, has like an affinity for your first car. Like I will always love Biscuit. If I could have like not totaled it.
That would have been great.
If I could have not totaled it and then maybe even kept it or even bought it back now, I would love to rebuild that car and just like make everything brand new, like the engine, everything. So I would still rock a 1994 with some sweet paint on it and some nice wheels and maybe some coilovers, whatever. You know what I mean? Because like we had so many stories with that. Like you had that car when my dad had that car first, so he gave it to me, and I remember. Because he gave it to me primarily, probably because he wasn't getting any money out of it, right? That car didn't have AC. You need AC here. So, we went to high school together in that car in like the last year or whatever. And so, or year and a half, whatever.
Year and a half.
And so I remember we have so many stories. So the car didn't have AC. No. And I'm surprised the windows rolled up all the way. And I remember here you have to have AC, okay? It gets 110, 114. You have to have AC. And I remember... like it was a status thing. You have a car was a status thing, but you almost didn't want to pretend like you didn't have AC because it was all just shittier. So tell them the stories when we were like driving out of school and shit.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been talking for too long.
No. Just was it even when we were in school?
Yeah, man. Because I remember we were like, "Oh man, it's so hot," and we're like, "Oh shit, a whole bunch of hot girls that we like."
Yeah, I just remember it was a bunch of hot ass girls. And I don't even remember where they were, but I just remember, I think we were starting to put it down. I was like, fuck that, roll the windows back up. It's all these hot hoes. And you're like, and you weren't even like, no, man, it's hot. You're like, fuck. And you rolled them up. And we just went by. And we get out like at what, like 3 o'clock?
Yeah, man, it was
so
hot.
It's like hottest time of the day, and the car's just been baking in the sun.
Yeah, because there's
6
no
hours.
covered parking.
No, there's no covered parking, so it's out there. And so yeah, we've fucking
we're like roll up the windows, shit. We rolled them up, pretending to have AC. We're like
just nodding.
Just
I'm
pretend,
like, what's up?
Just pretend like which by the way, we're having to drive 25 miles an hour because it's a shitty city. Yeah. And so we're sitting there 25 miles an hour and then trying to bake, but trying to look cool because the windows are rolled up and we got no ventilation.
Yeah, there's ain't nothing coming out. The only thing that's coming out of the AC right now is just more hot air. Not even that it's on. It's just hot air from the engine at this point.
And we're just sitting there like, oh, shit, we got a light and we got to pretend like we're nice and cool in here.
Yeah, and the town, it's weird. The town we went to school in was basically like a small, like country-ass town. So, yeah, you had to go 25 down it because everybody would walk everywhere. So, yeah, we had to. And the town is like almost 2 miles long, so... we stuck it out, man. 2 miles, we didn't die.
We stuck it out, and then afterwards, you had to roll down the window, just try to drive fast so we can cool down.
Put your face out the window like a dog. You ever seen a dog with your face out the window? Just like that.
That was awesome. But, dude, we had so much fun times. Like that car took us everywhere. Okay, so the reason I call it Sea Biscuit is because at the time, like, I was really into import cars, and I did a lot of illegal things that we would pretend like they were in Mexico when I talk about them later. And so... like, I remember I used to do a lot. This was back in the day when things were, like, a little bit more lax. Like, now if you street race, like, you're getting your car impounded and, like, they crush it, supposedly. But I remember I used to race people in Biscuit all the time. And, dude, that car had, like, 98 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was probably light, but it was like 98 horsepower. And so I remember I used to beat people all the time. And that was the thing about the Biscuit movie. If you don't know, like, the horse is like the smallest horse. It was like the runt of like all the horses, but it always used to beat people. So it like had the biggest heart. And so it was always jacking up all the other horses in the race. That was Biscuit. That was my car. And so like I would race people all the time. Like, it's not like I would own and destroy them. And they were like, not like I was racing like Corvettes and shit. You know, it was like normal cars.
Like you're going up against Skylines.
Yeah. It was normal car. It wasn't an Evo or anything. But it was still fun. And that's why I called it Biscuit. Because I hardly would ever lose with that car. And keep in mind, it was like a 1994 at the time. Like, it wasn't whatever. And there's a buddy of mine who like had a, I remember that dude I introduced you as. And he was like, he had the Sentra. Remember that Sentra?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry, not Sentra, the Saturn. He had that Saturn.
Oh, yeah.
And he was always trying to race me at the freaking Saturn.
Yeah.
And like, I would own him. And he was just like, yo, bro, it's because you got those lines on the side of the car that bring in the air.
It's because we're going from a
dig.
From a dig.
Like,
we need to be going at a roll.
Give me a
nice 65 roll. I'm like, I think the car only goes 75, dude. We need miles and miles.
The ignorance of being young and in high school, and it was just like he was like, yeah, dude, those grooves in the side of your doors guide the air better, and that's why you're faster. I was like, shut up with your Saturn shit. Get the hell out of here. Get your shit out of here. It's Nissan territory. Get out of my territory.
Yeah, he would do that.
It's fucking hilarious, man.
That because we didn't have AC, so.
Yeah, I would, dude. And back in the day, it's like when cars really got bogged down with the AC.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we got to race some. We got to drop this AC, roll up the windows. Got to get aerodynamic.
Oh, yeah, we did that too. That's probably why we can't do math. Our brain cells melted.
Melted? It's just one giant clump of brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, those are the good old days. Like, those are like the innocent days of racing before we actually ruled the streets. So that's why I love Biscuit. And Biscuit, like, you and I like changed the alternator on the car a couple times. I pretty much changed almost everything in that car.
A couple times.
Dude, I changed
a couple times means like I tried meth a few times. I didn't like it. But we became experts in it.
Yeah.
We did it before school.
Yeah.
School started at 8:30.
I got so good that I could change an alternator in one of those cars like within an hour probably. And I was averaging like 2 alternators a year because those stupid AutoZone alternators don't work with the shit.
Yeah, I know. Those are cans.
Dog shit,
aluminum cans.
And so I was changing like at least 2 a year. And then when I got the subs,
explain to them why you got the subs.
So what do you mean why I got the subs?
Just why? Why you?
So I wanted to get some little bit of bass in the car because the speaker sucks. So so as a young man, I got the car, and then I was just like, I love this car, so I'm like, I'm gonna fix it up. Mm-hmm. So I went from, I remember telling you guys that it was sunburnt, the windows didn't work, the AC didn't work, the radio barely worked, and so it got to the point where I repainted the car, which I'll tell you guys about that right now. But I repainted the car. I got wheels inside. Remember we went to a ghetto place and got wheels.
I do remember that place.
And it was, the wheels I got were a little too big. Like I had 18s on a center.
Yeah, the Mexican dude was like, yeah, no, they'll fit.
They worked, but they were 18s.
He's like, you need this low-profile tire, this really low-profile.
On 18s, man, that's ridiculous. So it's 18s. I painted it. Remember, we installed the speakers. I installed the speakers. I got real good at installing speakers.
We did those at my house, I think.
Redid the speakers. I had a stereo put in because I don't like electrical. So I had a stereo put in at like Ultimate Electronics or Circuit City at the time. If you guys know what that is, Google it. Circuit City, and then we had the subs put in too because I was like, I need a little bass with these speakers. Which, by the way, I didn't realize how basses and amps work. Dude, that was pulling so much juice from my car at night that when the lights came on and the bass was thumping, with the bass thumping, I had a light show in my dashboard.
Yeah.
It was like a strobe light in my dashboard.
And then you're saying some bass. I don't think you understand how much bass you got. You got a little bit bigger one.
Did I buy those subs from the guy that sold your dad the Accord? I did, right?
I think you did, yeah.
I think they were the subs that were in the Accord originally.
I think so.
They were like those Bose thumps.
They're huge.
They're 212s. They were big.
Yeah, they're huge.
For a little car. Dude, there was so much bass in that car that if the bass was at medium, maybe even medium to low, I would drive and my rear view mirror would totally go vibrate down. Towards the end, I was looking at my dick as I'm looking in the rear view mirror. I'm like, why am I looking at my dick in the rear view mirror? No, the mirror would just vibrate down with the thump.
And also, supposedly, This is supposedly, by the way. It was so loud that when a cop pulled us over on the way to school, we didn't hear him. He was following us for like 4 miles. And when
he was pissed.
He was pissed as shit. We finally pulled over. You're like, oh, there's a cop. He must have just got me right here. And so we pulled off on the on-ramp because we're getting off the freeway. And so we're like, okay, cool. And so he walks up and he's like aggressive as fuck because we're like, why you mad,
bro?
Why you mad?
Why are you salty for?
He's like, I've been following you for 4 fucking miles. I'm like, what?
It's like, what's wrong? Don't you have your lights on? Do you have your siren on?
I'm like, yeah. Why didn't you put your siren on? He's like, motherfucker, I had it. I'm like, oh, we probably didn't hear you because of the subs. But
that guy was nice, though. He let us out without a ticket.
Yeah, he did.
Which, by the way, guys, in these time frames that we're talking about, knock on wood, hasn't happened to me in a while, but from the time I got Biscuit, which I was driving slightly aggressive, to the time that like I sold the Z, the twin turbo, I almost averaged 1 ticket per city. I was almost just trying to do it for the sake of doing it. I'm like, I got 1 ticket in every city because like the Z would drive so much attention, but I almost never got a ticket in the Z. The Sentra though, it's like cops knew. They knew I was a ruler of the streets. The Sentra was giving tickets left and right, man.
Because they felt the subs coming off it.
No, that's after the subs were out. That's after.
Oh.
So anyways, I got the subs. I got a deck. And dude, that car was sweet. Oh, I painted it. Yeah, so my parents were like...
And you got the AC in it.
The AC was a thing, okay? The AC, my dad, when he owned the car, he kept putting the recharge kits on it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it just stopped working. And they just didn't have the money to fix it. So they just left it, right? So when I got it, I was like, mother fudger, I need to replace that AC, man. And then at some point, I don't know what I did. I think I pressed a little thing to just... vent some of the coolant that's in the lines, which I don't think I should have been doing. I think that's bad for the atmosphere. But anyways, I pressed it a little much, and I think it relieved pressure, and the AC just worked miraculously. I was so thankful for that. Which, by the way, a car with 98 horsepower, 200,000 miles, and the AC on, that car had no power. That car would barely get up at lights with the AC on. No, man. I felt bad. I was like, sorry, guys. Sorry. I can't accelerate that hard. Whatever. But, yeah. So, that car was a dime piece. Oh, the car paint. Well, let me get back to that real quick. So, for my birthday, my parents were like, we're going to get you a cheap paint job. Like Mako paint job, right? And I was like, they found this place, dude, in the middle of it was like 30 miles from here, okay? It was really cheap. Like, the paint job was really cheap.
Didn't your dad know a guy?
No. I don't know where they found this place, but my mom must have made a lot of calls because it was like a $300 paint job, I think. It was hella cheap. So I went there. They dropped off the car. We dropped off the car because they had to take me home. And then they're like, what paint do you want? I'm like, I want this one because I wanted like close to the factory forest green. And so they picked this one. It was pretty close. And I was like, this is good. And I got back, dude. I kid you not. I almost cried. I shit you not. I almost cried. We drove up to the place, and they had the car at the very front, like waiting for it to dry or just showing it off or whatever. And as we're pulling off, I'm like, please tell me that that's not my car. Like, I almost cried when I saw it, dude. And for any of you that are referencing this, forest green is a green that's so dark that it's almost black. So at nighttime, it looks black. In the daytime, it looks like a dark green car. When I pulled up to that fucking place and I saw the car, and I will throw that cuss word in, when I pulled into that fucking place and I saw the car, picture the green room that's in the last video or maybe in the thumbnail for here. I don't know. Picture my green room. It was that color. And I almost cried. I never showed it to you. I don't think I took it off the lot. No, I did take it off the lot for one day because they're like, the paint needs to cure. Because my mom and I were like, that's not what we picked. And the guy was like, well, that's what we thought you was like, no. I gave you the swatch with the color thing on it. And the guy was like, all right, well, sorry. He's like, it was really shitty paint job, by the way. Like, there was overspray on the muffler and stuff. It was really bad. But it still did the job, right? There was spray on the moldings. They painted the moldings. Anyways, back to my point. What can you ask for $300? So They gave me the car for a day because they're like the paint needs to like oxidize, so the fumes need to get out of the paint, and then it hardens up, blah blah blah. But then bring it back to us and we'll respray it, which I know they're not going to do a good job anyways because they would have needed to take that paint off. I'm sure they just repainted over the paint that was there.
Yeah.
Which, knock on wood, man, to the day I wrecked that car, that paint was good. So my shit talking aside, they did a pretty decent job.
Maybe that was the key. They needed to paint over
the paint.
They used that lime green, Shrek
like
green paint as a primer.
Just
And the
make
new
it
one
stick
just
harder.
took over.
I guess so. So I kept it for like 2 days. I felt embarrassed driving that car, even though I loved it. And then I took it back and they resprayed it, and they did a pretty good job. It wasn't exactly factory because factory was a little bit glossier. So one thing you guys, you're gonna notice I'm into cars by the way I describe shit. One thing you guys don't know, so like the difference between a really, really, really nice paint job and this fucking stomach's killing me. It's coffee. The difference between a really, really good paint job and a really shitty paint job, really quickly, is that a really good paint job is multi-stage. So there's like a primer, there's a base coat, there's a secondary coat if there's like a flake or a metallic or a pearl, and there's a clear, and sometimes there's multiple clears that make it really, really nice. But the key is to wet sand and remove all the imperfections, and then also remove all the orange peel by wet sanding it, and that's what costs a lot of money. This was not that. What these cheap paint jobs are, especially like a Mako, it's a single stage paint, which means the primer, the paint, any metallic, any pearl, it's all mixed into the paint at once. It's like the shit that you use to paint your walls. It's a single stage. You wipe, you spray it, and then maybe you'll do a clear coat. Maybe not. Maybe it's part of the paint, and then you just fuck it. That's it. Just fuck it. The orange peel and all, but whatever. It still worked fine. And so. Dude, I can't believe we've got 46 minutes. We haven't even gotten into one.
No, that's going to be part 2.
Oh my God. This needs to be 2 podcasts. Let me move quickly. So I had the G20 all decked out. And then we went to watch a movie one time.
The Biscuit.
In Biscuit. Yeah.
You said G20.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. In Biscuit.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell them why.
So imagine this car was...
and all this stuff.
Decked out. Car was beautiful. And, well... I didn't tell him the first time it got stolen.
Yeah, so tell him the first time.
Okay, so the first time it got stolen was at my first job. I was working retail. This is before.
Tell him where.
I was working at Toys R Us.
There you go.
And
you set the scene.
I was working at Toys R Us. It was like one of those late nights where it was like Christmas time. And so it was like a late night shift. Like I didn't get out till 1 a.m. Keep in mind, the Toys R Us wasn't in the best area. It was like a shitty area.
It was in our old neighborhood.
Exactly. And I remember like having to stay really late. I got off at 1 o'clock in the morning, and my car wasn't there. And then keep in mind, this is before the subs, this is before the paint, this is before any of the nice. Like it was the most basic car ever. But those old 90s Nissans were really easy to get into. Like I could take an old 1990s worn down Nissan key and make it so where I can get into some of the older cars. Case in point, I've actually done it on some of my old. Like one time I forgot my Sentra key, and I was able to get into it with my Z key, a worn down Z key. So not good, Nissan, but that's another reason why the Z had so much. They had a kill switch in them. Anyways, back to my point. So it got stolen, and I almost cried like a bitch because I was young, man. I didn't have any money. There was no way I was going to replace that car. It was like liability only because there's no reason to have full coverage on a car that's worth $2,000. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, how are you going to get another car at that price? Secondly, where are you going to find a decent car at that price? So like that was so many times where I was, first of all, I was a bitch back then, but also like that fucked with me, man. And so I eventually got it back. I think somebody stole it. They just killed the battery, and they found it like it's some church lot. Like it was fine. The car was fine. They ruffled through all the glove compartment and stuff. There wasn't anything there. I was like a 16-year-old kid, like whatever. So, no, I was 17, 18, something like that. Anyways, so I got it back. I put a new battery. Car was fucking back. See Biscuit, man. Put a battery in, turn back on like a boss. So moved to the future another 4 years maybe, and the car's decked out, is looking good, clean, nice 18-inch wheels. Yeah. We got subs, we got a deck, we got stereo, we got AC.
Finally,
car's looking cleaner than a mug.
And so I remember it clearly.
You know what my ultimate goal is?
What?
My ultimate goal is for somebody to listen to these podcasts that does animation and then animate these. That would be awesome. That'd be like a fucking badass, like cool thing for somebody to do. Anyways,
Yeah, I remember clearly. We were in college now because
we were in college. Yeah. Well, I mean, it took me a long time to build that car.
Yeah, so we were in college now because it's like 4 years later, and then we were studying for a test or something.
Yeah, we were studying.
Yeah, we're studying for a test.
I thought we went to go see a movie.
Well, we're studying for a test, and then we're like, because it was at Borders. That's how long that place was.
Yeah, right.
Long ago was.
Oh, these are long stories.
So we're at Borders, and then we studied a bit, and we're like, oh, this is boring. This college is gay. And so we're like, fuck it, let's go see a movie, because it was right, like, very close to where the Borders was. So we're like, fuck it. So we go back to the car, and we put our books in there.
That's right.
Our college books.
College books, which, by the way, any of you guys have been in college know that each book's about minimum $50 to $250.
Yeah. So
and we had our bag full of books. There's like 3-4 books a piece.
Yeah.
Our notes are like anything that was like test or school related.
Yeah, I think luckily I wasn't carrying a backpack at that time.
I don't think luckily I had a TI-89 by then, because otherwise I would have been pissed.
So yeah, we go. I don't even know what we watched. We watched something. Then
I don't care. I don't want to know.
But then we came back out because we had parked at Borders, and we put all the stuff in the car, and we had parked at the movies, and I remember where it's at. Every time I go by there, I'm like, hey, that's where your car got stolen. So we came out. I think it was like 12 o'clock or something. Or like
it was late.
1.
Yeah, it was
and
late.
then we were walking around, and then we passed by. I'm like, hey, wasn't your car here? And you're like, no, it was on this other one. I'm like, nah, man, it was right here, because I remember, because it's like right by the entrance. And we're like, oh, fuck.
They stole the car.
They stole the car again.
Stole the car. Dude, that second time, like, I won't say it broke me, but it almost broke me. Like, it was the second time that had been stolen. Like, the car was done, man. It was looking good. The wheels were a little too big, I'm not going to lie. But it was good. I had like a good confidence. I love that car, man. And that really fucked with me a lot. And so they stole it. And so very disappointing. Definitely heartbreaking. I don't think at the time I have the I must have, no, I didn't have the red Z, did I?
I think you did.
I don't think so.
You've had to.
I can't remember. No, because I never had I don't remember. Anyways, I don't remember. But I was just distraught, man. And so at that point, like, I was like, dude, I'm never going to get this car back. Like, it's been stolen the second time. I got lucky the first time. There's no way I'm going to get it back. And like a week or so later, I got a call from, I think the police, saying that they found it. It was reported in a junkyard, or like a repo lot or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we had to go to the repo lot to take a look at it. And this was the part that probably broke me at that moment, was when I saw the car at the repo lot. Because when I saw the car at the repo lot, like, they stripped it. They broke the door panels to get to the speakers that are replaced. They stole the stereo. They stole the subs, of course, and the amp. They stole the speakers in the back. They fucking fried the battery somehow, probably using the subs.
Yeah.
And then they stole the wheels, which that's the part that broke me the most. Not because I love the wheels, more because I saw it on blocks, and that fucked with me. Because so much for cussing. I did so good in the first half of this podcast. Like, that fucked me was the part where I saw it on blocks, because I love that car, man. Just it reminded me of the first theft, and I was like, man, this looks really like that. I remember being there, and I was like a young man at the time, and I remember sitting there being like, fuck, man, there's no way I'm gonna get it back to where it was, and let alone, like, who knows if it won't start now? You know, what if they did something to the motor or something? And so, nope, the Seabiscuit was a beast. I bought a battery in it, maybe an alternator, who knows? And so many alternators. In my mind, it seems like I only did it twice, but I'm sure I did it at least 3 dozen times. And it rode again. I bought some used wheels for it, like OEM wheels. The whole reason I bought wheels was because I hated hubcaps. And I would drive somewhere and they would just fly off. Mm-hmm. And I have to buy more hubcaps. And like back in the day, you would go to Walmart and buy these cheap hubcaps, and they would break or snap off, or they didn't work very well. So, but I bought some cheap wheels. I got an alternator. Luckily, the interior was good. The interior, it wasn't like leather, so it's not like they tore it or anything. I got a new radio on it, just like a basic one to have radio. And the Biscuit was fine, man. I still love that car. It's still a great car. If I didn't wreck it like an idiot, I guess I'll say how I wrecked it. I was going for a job interview, and I was looking for the address. This is before phones and GPS and all that stuff. And so I was trying to find the address, and I looked to my left for a second, and there was nobody ahead of me, by the way. I looked to my left for a second to see if I can see something that matches the address I was looking for, and then I looked forward, and I don't know where. I still to this day don't know where this came from, but there was a car already parked, and it wasn't even a major intersection. It was like a light in between two major intersections, and the car was already dead stopped, and I slammed the brakes, and it went so fast. I slammed the brakes, and I knew I wasn't going to stop. So then I turned the wheel, trying to get into the next lane, and it literally clipped my front end on the driver's side light. It clipped it, and it really bent that frame rail. And so it was pretty much totaled, probably because I would have had to have somebody rebuild that frame rail. So the car was totaled. I sold it to some guys who wanted it for like spare parts or whatever. But in hindsight, 2020, I probably could have picked up like a front end, cut it, welded it, but anyways, yeah, it's too much work. But anyways, that's the end of Biscuit. Sadly, I love that car. Rest in peace, Biscuit. So yeah, it still pisses me off. They stole that car. I almost feel like we should cut it off here.
Yeah,
we're an hour in. We're not even into like. If you ever see Midnight Wangan anime on YouTube. It's like me in that car. It's like the devil's and shit.
Is that what you were?
Oh, I love those. Those are some good old days. I feel like we're gonna have to spend a whole podcast discussing the nights of like JDM street racing and cars and car clubs and like underground racing.
I have to do that, man. I think statute of limitations ran out, so we're good.
We're good. Rule the streets, son. Rule the streets.
Shit was real.
Shit was legit as fuck. Man, I miss Biscuit. I'm gonna go on Craigslist right now and look up 1994 Sentra, see if I can get one dirt cheap.
Get one for like $300.
We'll rebuild it, dude. We'll do a series on the show where we just rebuild it. We'll teach everybody how to do alternators.
Put on some overalls and shit. I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna teach you how to rebuild this.
What's going on, guys?
1994.
We're gonna teach you guys
Nissan
how to fix up this Nissan Sentra of 1994, so everybody can have a Sentra.
I'm like, first thing, go to your local junkyard and get one.
Yeah, right. What if we did a series and the 1984 Sentra becomes a cult series, and next thing you know, like everybody's got them.
What you gotta do is
we'll teach 16-year-olds how to build their own cars.
We gotta find one, and we gotta put a vet engine in it.
Oh, fuck. I don't think there's enough room.
I don't think the front end will support the vet engine. You just be way down.
I'm trying to think what's the most powerful engine we could throw in there. We'll throw like a VTEC engine in it. We'll throw like a turbo SR20 in it.
There you go. Just start drifting.
Just spin the wheels all day long.
Just drift it. Front wheel drive.
Front wheel drive, son. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I teased the racing, street racing, and our histories with that. I feel like we're going to have to talk about that next time, because last week we did an hour and 20-minute podcast, and I feel like an hour is the sweet spot because it gives you enough time to like not just be like Rogan's are really good, but the problem is that you got to commit to 3 hours, and most people don't have that time. I feel like most people, especially like if you're Boski or if you're, shout out to Ralph, if you're Boski and you got like an hour commute just to the Circle K down the street, you know, this is a good thing for you. Like, you know, he's got
not the way he drives.
He's got a commute down to Circle K down the street, unlike us, who we got probably a good commute. Whatever, you can listen to podcasts a day.
I feel like Boski drives like he's that clown from Twisted Metal.
Yeah, he does drive like that.
He just doesn't care.
Except without the missiles.
Yeah, without the missiles, he just does not care.
Yeah, so I feel like an hour is a sweet spot. That's enough for travel here and there. So I feel like next time this is probably broken down very well. There's in 2 parts: our car history, which will then translate into. We've kind of closed out Biscuit. We've closed out the G20. What happened to the G20? I sold the G20. I told you guys. Yeah, I said that already. Yeah. So if we closed out our car history now, so now we talk about just the Nissan 300ZX twin turbo and our history into racing underground and owning the streets. Circa, what year was that?
2006.
2006. We're going to say circa 2006, I own the streets. I will say it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Comments, questions down below. I apologize for teasing next week's podcast. We will talk about that next week. I feel like I should like pick a day to upload these, like on Monday or something. Like that way people are consistently knowing, hey, podcast comes out on Monday.
Yeah,
for all three of you that listen to this.
You need to get a name for the actual channel.
What's LifeGeneralist? But I feel like the podcast.
That's homosexual.
That's not homosexual.
I think it could be better.
Well, you think of something, Mister. I'll make fucking cars that you haven't done for 2 years now. Yeah, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I'm thinking.
Shut your mouth. Anyways, think about it off
podcast.
Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her.
Oh my god.
She's got like 2 toys in her mouth. Hi, little one. Love you long time. I think she wants attention.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll get into this now. All right, so next time we'll discuss our racing heritage and pedigrees, and yeah, my apologies for teasing that, guys. Next week's expect that
action-packed episode.
Action-packed episode. Now I feel like I want to try a new thumbnail for this week.
Let's see.
I'll think of something off.
All right, we need to get. I think Vin Diesel and Paul Walker have been bent over a car and they're fixing it. So same thing applies.
But where are we gonna put our faces? Oh, you in the car?
Yeah.
I got you. That's a good point. All right, we'll do that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Any last words, dude?
No, just that has to be the thumbnail.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Miss you, Biscuit.